Mesdames et messieurs,
The greatest festival of our contemporary society, the Olympic Games, is about to begin.
This is gonna be close.
Oh! They're all completely gassed! They've given it everything on their global bucket! Oh, yeah! Go! Oh!
Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. But that is an Olympic championship.
Ready?
Bonjour, and welcome to day -2 of the Paris 2024 Olympics on Keep the Flame Alive, the podcast for fans of the Olympics and Paralympics. I am your host, Jill Jarrett, joined as always by my lovely co-host, Alison Brown. Alison, bonjour. How are you?
Bonjour, je suis fatiguée.
Already?
Yes, I know. I haven't been sleeping very well, so I think it was anticipation. And now that we're in mood, I think I'll be okay.
Okay, excellent. It's hard to believe we are getting closer and closer, but so much has happened today. So let's begin the baguette.
So we may hear some background. We are working in the workroom at the Stade de France. So that's atmosphere for you.
Yeah, we'll be recording in a lot of different places, I think. A lot of different workrooms because, once again, we cannot record in our hotel room. It is too tiny. The Wi-Fi is unsecure. But we have lovely accommodations provided by Paris 2024, I think.
Really?
Well, it's a workroom.
Oh, I thought you meant the hotel again.
No. Oh, those. Okay, but the hotel again. Let's give you a safety update. When last we left you, things were not good. We've tried many different ways to get to our hotel. And Monday night, it is Wednesday today. So Monday night, we, because accommodation has told us, well, it gave us a map. Here's where to walk. Here's a tram. It is fine. We've walked it before. And I responded and said, what time did you walk it? Because we walked it Monday night at 11:15 p.m. At the tram, fine. The tram ride is actually really good. It goes straight to the media center from our hotel. We couldn't ask for something better for that.
And then you get off the tram, and it's fine for a block. There were lights, there were people, there were still things open, surprisingly enough. And then there weren't.
Right.
There weren't even street lights on those last 2 blocks. So even just absolute basics, they're still falling down.
Right. So I immediately wrote to accommodation and laid out, this is the time, this is what happened, and got a reply. We've escalated this to security.
Gee, thanks. But, and then we tried a different tram, or a different train line, because they said, oh, go this way. Tried that. That wasn't great either.
No, and again, it was fine until it wasn't. There's a lot of it's fine until it's not. And I think last night we walked through a drug deal. That was great because we were crossing a street and there was a car that was on our street, and I looked at it to see if it was going to cross the road, if we had to stop or not. And I saw 2 guys leaning into the car, doing a funky hand slap that looked like passing something off. And then we continue walking down the sidewalk, and there's a man standing in the middle of the sidewalk, to me, obviously looking like a lookout. And then as I passed by him, there was a little, I don't know if it was a park entrance or something, but a building tucked in, so it was very shadowy. And there was a man standing there, and you could hear money flipping. So that
it felt like a gangster movie.
So that was fun. It was just like, huh. And I'm not, it's one of those look forward, just keep moving, use your peripheral vision as best you can.
And as we've discovered, we are not alone. And we are not alone in our hotel. Our friend Peggy Shin has mentioned she is in a different hotel, also in an extremely sketchy area, also with a long walk from the train, and also being told by accommodations, we did an inspection, we walked it, it's fine.
Yeah, so this whole, I don't think they understand that. But I learned today that French labor law says you must have an 11-hour break after a shift. So they must think that people aren't working late, even though workrooms are open late and the media center is now open 24 hours. So I don't know. But hopefully you did see yesterday morning you saw a heightened police presence and some cleaning.
I did see some cleaning of the area around our hotel. There were additional police, but they were gone this morning.
Right.
And it didn't seem like there was any permanent improvement in the
No,
cleanliness of the
no,
area.
No.
So,
And you know what's really sad is that when you get on the train and we're next to the 18th arrondissement. You get out of the 18th and it's immediately cleaner. Like, seriously, Paris, put some resources here. I don't know what you think of this place, but put some resources in this neighborhood.
well, you have a new friend that you could have talked to about this. President Macron.
Oh, yes. I do have a new friend. So the presidential palace had a welcoming party for selected media. And thank you, listener David. I think I traced it back to listener David, who said, hey, there's a party, you should sign up for it. And we both signed up. I got selected.
Thanks a lot.
I have no choice in the matter. I don't know.
Were the Kazakhs involved in this decision that kept me out?
But it was a lovely reception for maybe 150, 200 people at the presidential palace. It is stunningly beautiful. The big chandeliers. You're in this big reception area with the gilded painted ceiling all over the place. There was a kind of I would say the anteroom to the reception area had a domed glass ceiling, and the glass was red, white, and blue patterned. And so when the light shifted in the day, when the sun was moving around, the light from the glass dome would shine red, white, and blue on the walls. And it was that was really a nice touch. We stood around for a long time, and eventually President Macron and T-Bach and Tony Estanguet came out, and T-Bach and the president gave speeches. And then the president must have had something he really didn't want to do, because he stayed and started working the line. And I was near the front. I was just like 3 deep in the line. And so I stuck around thinking that he'd work his way down to me. And he wasn't really moving, and I got hungry because I hadn't had lunch yet. And we're at like 3:30, 4 o'clock at this point. And so I went over to the massive spread of meats and cheeses and bread and fruits and vegetable. It was just amazing. Little tiny desserts there, and there was another one outside in the garden area. And I had some wine, because of course they had wine. And then I wandered out into the garden, met the dogs, and then I said, oh, he's still there. And he's trying to work, the Secret Service are trying to work him out through the garden into the other side of the
he
restaurants.
said no.
He said no. So I went in there and stood, and I kind of moved along, and eventually I got my selfie. So I think you can see. Did I put it in the group?
I think you did.
Okay, so yes, I did. So if you're in our Facebook group, you can see me with Macron and our good friend Nicholas Wallover, who's in the group as well. He was with me. He got a picture. We got a picture of him with Macron, but Macron is not necessarily looking.
Macron did not consent to this photograph.
So it was a lovely time. I made some new friends, and it was a very nice way to spend a day. I'll say that. You, on the other hand, got selected to go to the Athletes Village.
I did. So they had a media day at the Athletes Village. Obviously, most of the time, the Athletes Village is closed to only athletes and team staff, but they let the media in, and they let us basically just walk around. We couldn't go in any of the team buildings. We could go in all the shared facilities, and we could go into the dining hall up to a point. We couldn't go near any of the food, but we could see it.
Which is sad, because I did get a question if you got to eat.
I did not, though I did get to get a snack from the Carrefour that they have there. Oh. They have a little Carrefour, they have the post office and the hairdresser, and we got to walk in all of those. And on the one hand, all those things are very small. You know, the hairdresser, it's sort of the famous Olympic Village hairdresser, had maybe 5 or 6 chairs, but it was busy. It was hopping. But the village itself is enormous. I just kept walking. It is on 2 sides of the river. There is a footbridge that connects them. I want to know the calculus that went into putting countries where they put them. Because, you know, who is next to whom? We put China with Cuba, but they're on the other side of the river from the United States house. So there's definitely some significance as to where they put houses. On the one hand, the village is interesting in that all the buildings are slightly different. They've built them with the intent to be apartment buildings. But it also did have a bit of the 1970s Soviet feel to it.
Oh, yeah.
I think just because it's all these concrete buildings in the middle of the city, in the second you step out of the village, a horrible neighborhood.
Oh, is it really?
It is really bad.
Worse than ours?
Much.
Really?
Yes. So the minute you get out of the village, we got a transport bus from the media center out to the village. And the minute you go through those Jersey barriers, it's like the music opens up and, oh, you have reached the safe place. And the second you drive out of those Jersey barriers, it's really not good. And I understand why they put it in Saint Denis. They were trying to revitalize this neighborhood. I think in a couple of years we're going to see all the stories about how this has fallen apart.
Oh, really? You don't think that people, even though they're going to have people that they've moved, who are looking for housing, who may be lower class? Working class?
So hard to have one section or one neighborhood of an area of the city that is rebuilt and nothing around it can sustain it. So let's be hopeful, but let's also be realistic. A couple of fun things. Saw Lily King coming out of the dining hall. She was not slapping anyone or herself, so that was good. Saw Maggie McNeil and a couple of the other Canadian swimmers very hostilely riding bicycles. There was a lot of yelling at each other going on. I don't know what that was about. But mostly it was not crowded. There obviously, because this is, Tuesday before the opening ceremony. So there were a lot of people there, but there weren't a lot of people there.
Oh, go ahead.
It was probably a quarter full, would be my guess. They have a bar that's right outside. They have like a tiki bar.
Oh, that's cool.
But they have a big sign that says, 18 and older will be they will ID required. So I loved that. It was what I expected of an Olympic Village, but when you're walking it, wow.
Do they have a discotheque?
They have a village club, which is where the tiki bar is.
Okay.
And they have beach chairs and not fake sand, but kind of a fake beach area.
Okay.
So that's probably the closest thing. And I think at night they make that lively. Thought it was interesting that Team USA's building is right next to the dining hall. They understood that. There are shuttles that go around. So I think when people are trying to get to their events, they won't have to walk half a mile to the transport hub, the athlete transport hub, to then get on the bus to get to their venue. So it seemed like everything was running smoothly. The volunteers were all lovely.
Did you get to see the beds?
No, because I was not allowed. You were only allowed in a building if you had a special invitation from a team. And I did not. I have talked to some people about the beds. There is mattress processing that they go through, where you get to select different elements of your bed so that your bed is long enough for you and you have the appropriate firmness in sections. So I think the bed is kind of a non-story, to be honest. I think it's a fun thing for the press to pick up on, but I think these athletes have stayed in a lot of more uncomfortable situations. But I do love that the basketball players and some of the really tall guys that we have seen can get an extra piece So
Oh.
instead of 3 pieces, they can get 4 pieces. So there's no feet dangling, which is extremely important.
Excellent.
And then we've been busy with tours.
We have been busy with tours. So yesterday I went on a factory tour because we got another email and it just said, if you want to be on a factory tour, and that's all I had to read, factory tour, sign me up. And I didn't know where it was. I thought it had something to do with the medals. And they said, we will send you a train ticket. Get the train ticket. It's a 2-hour train ride. And then we get the schedule. It's a 2-hour train ride and a 45-minute bus ride. Where am I going? So I went to Bretagne. The train went to Rennes, and that was a big city, and then we went to a smaller town outside of that.
And this is a high-speed train. We need to point out.
Yes,
this
exactly.
is 2 hours in a high-speed train.
Exactly. I went a couple hundred kilometers, I think.
I was worried we were going to have another Jean Jacques situation, and I might not get you back.
But I went to Doudou and Compagnie, and they are a stuffed animal maker made in France. They got the contract to make the mascots. And at this particular factory, they do the mascots that are specially made in France because there is some that there are a lot that are made in China because there's just the managing director said, oh yeah, I mean just because production moved to China on all this stuff in the 90s, and there's not many places who can manufacture stuffed animals left in France, and they make these adorable, very, very soft plush bears and little bunnies and foxes, and all the little kids have their Doudou and Company toys that they have the little blankets with a stuffed animal attached, so they that's a standard thing to have here in France. So they make the Phryges that are made in France, and then they are making 2 special edition Phryges that are different kinds of shiny red fabric for the Phryge instead of being plush. There will be 2,024 of each edition, and they are numbered, so you can find that. And then they are also making the podium Phryges. And the podium Phryges have the emblem in the center of the Phryge is gold, silver, or bronze. The shoes are gold, silver, or bronze. And I believe on the Paralympic one, the running blade will be gold, silver, or bronze too. And then on the back side, it says Bravo. And on
They're beautiful.
They are. And then on the Paralympic one on the running blade, it says Bravo in Braille as well. So they are really, really cute. It looked like a very complicated process, but they said it takes maybe 35, 40 minutes. They go through cutting. There's 40 pieces on a Phryge. I got, they showed us the little cutouts. They showed one. I'll put a picture in the Facebook group where it's expanded out, where all the pieces are cut out and laid out so you can see. There's an embroidery section that can embroider several of the Paris 2024 patches at once. They go to sewing. They get sewn inside out.
Yes,
and
of course.
Then they have to get put right side in, and then they are stuffed. They have this giant, it looks like a giant vacuum that's tall, one of those circular vacuums that's super, super tall, blows in the stuffing, and then they get finished up. They go through quality control, and then they get packaged right there, and they're done. The company has partnered with a organization for people with developmental disabilities, so they have some people from there working with them and doing some of the steps. And that's really, there were two people from that organization there, and one, it was a man and a woman, and the guy, you can kind of tell he dug being filmed by a lot of people. Kind of, not too much, but you could tell. And the poor woman just did not want to be. Oh. She just was like, who are these people? I don't want to be, I don't want to be on. And but they were very cute, going from station to station. They have people. Everybody kind of moves around to different stations throughout the day, and so that nobody gets, it's repetition. So they want to make sure that people don't get tired with one thing. So they were moving around to different things, and it was fun. They had this enormous. I got to hold one of the enormous. Several hundred. How many hundreds of euros is that? 800?
That is 800 euros.
The 800 euro Phryge is heavy.
How could it not be? It is very large.
But yeah, we'll have a video up soon. I can't tell you when, but we're working on it. And it was a lovely day. It was really interesting. So we'll have more to share about that in other outlets. But thank you to Doudou and Compagnie for letting me come and learn about the Phryges. So we have some news from here. I mean,
Let's start with the good news. So the IOC announced both 2030 and 2034 hosts for the Winter Olympics. So we'll be coming back to France in the French Alps for 2030. And as expected, Salt Lake City was named for 2034.
there are conditions on both of those.
There are conditions on both of those. So for the French Alps, the French government was not able to sign off on some of the required guarantees. I think it had to do with the turnover of the government because there are elections coming in. So the current government couldn't sign,
Right.
and obviously the next government isn't in place yet. So the selection was conditional on those guarantees being made. The more interesting condition was with Salt Lake City. So as I'm sure many of you have heard about, there's a little bit of a conflict between a lot of American athletes and the World Anti-Doping Agency concerning especially the Chinese swimmer or Chinese swimming team who competed in Tokyo despite having tested positive for a particular banned substance. And I went to the press conference for Salt Lake City, and they were very clear in saying this guarantee is always in the host city contract, where the host city and the host Olympic Committee agrees that WADA is in charge of anti-doping measures. They had to, the USOPC and Salt Lake City had to provide additional guarantees, which the governor described as a letter. That
Okay.
they wrote an additional letter saying, no, we really mean it. We are not going to undercut WADA's authority during the games when they are here. There seems to be a great deal of concern in the IOC about the Rodchenko Act, which was an act that was passed a few years back now, having to do with doping and saying if you are involved in importing, using, administering drugs that violate anti-doping rules, we can arrest you. And there seems to be some concern that during LA 2028, there are going to be FBI raids of team houses if there's any information. That, based on the questions that what other reporters were asking in the press conference, seems to be the scuttlebutt among IOC members, that there is a great deal of concern as to how USADA, the FBI, the United States government, the state of California is going to enforce anti-doping laws in America when it comes to what happens at the Olympics and Paralympics.
That's interesting.
So keep an eye on that.
Wow. That is really interesting.
This is why we're going to these press conferences, because we get some scuttlebutt. I will be going to many press conferences tomorrow, so we'll get to that.
Speaking of scuttlebutt, Team Canada has some issues with the women's football. Team Canada is the defending gold medalist on July 22. Their first game is against New Zealand. And on July 22, Team New Zealand noticed a drone overhead while they practiced. And there was another drone another time. And so the drone operator got caught. And that man was Joseph Lombardi, who was an unaccredited analyst with Canada Soccer. So they found footage and photos of the New Zealand practice on it, which would show some of their strategies. The drone operator had told his Canadian the person he reported to on Team Canada, who's an assistant coach named Jasmine Mander, about what he was doing, and she did not escalate this or do anything about it. She has been removed from the team and sent home. Lombardi has been removed from the team, except for I'm not sure he's going home because he got arrested. And
yeah, France laws when it comes to filming without consent are very, very strict.
yes, so Devin Heroux from CBC they've found the charge in French and translated it, he was charged with maintaining an unmanned aircraft over a prohibited area. He was tried under a procedure of appearance on recognition of guilt. The maximum sentence for that is 1 year in prison and a 45,000 euro fine. So he accepted a suspended sentence of 8 months in prison. I'm not sure what that means exactly, but it ain't good.
And I should say that the Canadian Olympic Committee has come out with some very strongly worded statements saying this was not in their purview. They are working to fix this. This is not okay. He bad. We going to
Right.
punish him if you don't.
Right.
So,
And head coach Bev Priestman, she apologized, and she has taken herself out of coaching the first game, which is Canada versus New Zealand. So good that she did that, but what an embarrassment. It's just not good. What is good is that the opening ceremony dancers have called off a potential strike.
I didn't even know about this. We mentioned before we left that there was a potential strike of airport workers on the day we were landing. That also did not happen.
No, because I think stuff gets negotiated, because apparently they have to announce they're going to do a strike. That's part of the deal. So they're going to announce like a week. It seems like you might need to give a week's notice that you're going to strike, which is all. Striking is very French, and giving the notice is very French. So,
Oh, by the way, we're going out on strike tomorrow.
right. So there are 3,000 performers in the opening ceremonies, and apparently there's a big gap in terms of pay with who is dancing. So they filed a strike notice last week and said, we are not doing this. And then some protested during rehearsals on Monday which were near the Seine, and they raised their fist for 8 minutes. So they got a deal, and the lowest paid is going to get 160 to 240 euros extra, depending on what they do in the show, what kind of dancer they are.
By the way, raising your fist for 8 minutes, that's an impressive physical feat. These dancers know what they're doing.
And just a quick note, in case COVID becomes a thing here, 5 players from the Australian women's water polo team tested positive.
No, it's not Tokyo. You haven't traveled back in time.
I know. But, I mean, it's interesting how it still raises some feelings and self-isolate and all that stuff. So, we have seen some games today. We get to start our regular segment. What officiating or volunteer job would you like to do?
Well, I'm going to start with, because we have been at so many press conferences, I want to be the person who puts the Coca-Cola bottles and the water bottles on the tables, because nobody touches them. And even if they wanted to touch them, all the bottles here, you need a bottle opener. So it's not like they could just reach over and take their Coke sans sucre.
There could be a bottle opener on the table.
Possibly, but that's a job for me, because you do it once, you do it right, and you don't have to do it again the rest of the games, because those bottles ain't moving.
So we went to rugby tonight, and I thought about ball person, because there is some choreography to how the balls get around, but they also have to rest on one knee at all times. They do have little mats for their knee, and that just seems uncomfortable to do. And if you're the ball person who is lined up on the center line, you got to sprint when it's time for you to put the ball out. Then there is I told you about this, because there is a podium that the game ball gets put on, and the teams come out around the ball, and it's a very rugby thing. And I was stymied by when that would come out, because actually I don't think the podium was there for the first couple of games, because then I noticed it and I didn't notice that before.
And then you put me on ball watch.
Right.
So I missed a game watching for when the ball would come out, because once I had a job.
But then I told you that the ball had come out, because then there are World Rugby people who bring the right game. So they must watch the balls and have the right balls and make sure everything is okay. So that's it's probably an officiating job. But then there are in between the sessions, there was a ground crew who fixed the divots in the turf.
They had a stick. They had a little hook. Mm-hmm. They stomped the divots. It was very, I was about to say it was very groundbreaking, but it was very ungroundbreaking. It was very ground fixing.
So there we go. All right. The only way we are able to be here in Paris is because listeners like you have supported us, And because we're an independent media outlet, that makes it really tough to raise money against the big guys. And we can give you, and because we're media, even though we're not big, we are small but mighty, and we can give you the lowdown in a way that no outlet can. I mean, where else are you going to get divot news?
Backstage at the Salt Lake City press conference with Coke bottles.
But being here does cost money, so we do ask you for your support. If you're enjoying this show, if you're enjoying the games, if you enjoy the community that's around this, please do support the show. You can go to flamealivepod.com/support. Many ways to do it. We accept PayPal. We accept Venmo. We also accept new patrons. If you want to be an ongoing patron of the show, you can join. And there's a link there at flamealivepod.com/support. Our patrons for Paris are getting bonus content. All levels of paid patronage get a picture of the day. That is something that doesn't get posted anywhere else. And then the $5 level and above will get random video content. Maybe some audio content, but random video content when we have something that's really good. So there's some presidential content up there from Macron. There's something from you, from the Athletes Village. And I can't remember. Already I can't remember what else is up there. But there's got to be a lot of fun stuff happening for patrons. So please do help us defray the costs of this show and visit flamealivepod.com/support. So we do have results today.
And we just got the last two.
Oh, yes. Starting off in football, it's a beginning of group play. Whoa, this is a way to start an Olympics. Okay.
So this is the men's tournament.
Yes. We're going to start talking about Argentina because here in the rugby venue, we also experienced some not so nice... people here don't like Argentina. Let's just flat out. But that's in part due to the Copa America, which is the soccer tournament for the men's senior team. The tournament here in the Olympics is under 23.
Yes.
With a couple of extras that are older. And at the Copa America, Argentina won. And then on their bus, they sang a very racist song calling out France, saying their players aren't French, they're Africans, and naming things and having some really bad racial slurs.
The French remember.
Yeah. and they remember tonight in rugby, too. So one of the opening matches was Morocco versus Argentina, which Morocco was winning 2-1. And in the second half, we had over 16 minutes of extra play. And in the 106th minute, Argentina appeared to score a tie goal, which was just an insane way of how this happened. So there was a shot on goal, blocked by a player. Shot again, blocked by the goalkeeper, Munir El Khajoui. And he just did a phenomenal job trying really hard to do this because it's all happening, bam, bam, bam. There was a follow-up shot after this deflection. It deflected off the crossbar. Then there was a header blocked by the goalkeeper. And then headed in from close range was Christian Medina, who got the goal, except for...
It wasn't a goal.
It wasn't a goal. Here's where it gets a little weird, because fans got out onto the field. They started throwing stuff onto the field.
So let's explain that it was offside. It was called an offside.
No, I wasn't getting there. I was going to get to that. So fans started getting onto the field. Stuff's thrown onto the field. They paused the game. We're still in extra time. Then somewhere during that, apparently, because I found this out from John at Anything But Footy, they did a video review, and apparently there were fireworks there too somehow, unless fireworks mean people yelling. I don't know. He's British, but then they did a video review, and Medina was deemed to be offside, so the goal did not count. And then they still had more extra time. They had like 3 more minutes, but Morocco held them off 2-1. So that was a pretty wild way to start the tournament. In other group play, Spain beat Uzbekistan 2-1. Egypt and Dominican Republic tied. Japan hardily beat Paraguay 5-0. New Zealand beat Guinea 2-1. Iraq beat Ukraine 2-1. France beat the U.S. 3-0. Wow, but it's the men's team. Our men's team isn't known to be good, and France has France behind them. And then there was a tie with Mali and Israel at 1-1. Over in rugby,
Where we were.
that's right. We were at the Stade de France, and it's full. It was full. It was really lively, and you always kind of worry on the first day because you got to break it in. You got to find out, even though you've planned everything, what works, what doesn't work. Finding out where we needed to go was a little hard, and I ended up going up these stairs, a staircase, and police were manning it, and they started inspecting everybody's bags before they'd let us up the staircase, and I thought, oh, this is going to take a while. Then you didn't go in the same place.
I was turned away from that staircase.
So hopefully we have to go into a different place and not have to deal with it anymore. Media entrance had a big, like Disney World line set up, and people were standing there, and we're all like, we got to get in because we're an hour out tops, maybe not even that. The gate was locked. And they literally could not get it open. So there was a lot of jiggling and kind of pounding on it. Eventually they got it open. We got in. We have to get x-rayed into all the venues, come up to our media center, check it out, sit in. Very nice tabled seating for us because we have swivel seats. That's going to be great come track.
Are you just going to be swiveling around?
I know, it's great. I just love the seats. And we have a dedicated concession stand, which is very nice to have a dedicated concession stand because the lines for stuff are going to be pretty long. That said, public could access this concession stand, so there was a lot of turning people. When I went down the second time, they clearly had moved all of 3 signs that said, this is for media only. So that's not fun. But that's helpful because our snack situation.
Yeah. What snacks?
It's not great. You get their bowl of granola bars and a bowl of fruit. And that stuff gets taken pretty quickly. Like when we got here, I got one of the last 2 granola bars and I took an apple.
And I got here a few hours after you, and there was not even hot water for tea.
And there were more granola bars later, but the problem with the granola bars is that they don't have any heft to them. It's like it's kind of like
a candy bar.
Yeah, you're
best.
like eating rice or something, like eating rice something. So there's no kind of protein that I would hope would be in there. That's going to be real.
Hence the concession stand is useful.
And why I had 2 meals there. I think I'm going to be eating at the canteen a lot.
I know.
I did not know they did this. And our friend Chris O'Reilly from Olympopod was here tonight. And it's great because he's here for handball. So it was fun to see him. There was like the first tap of the shillelagh. Or the walking stick?
I don't know if it was a shillelagh.
I don't. It looked like a walking stick, but I have a shillelagh that looks like a walking stick too. That you're just supposed to walk, and if somebody starts to fight you, you just whip it up and bam.
Well, that's appropriate for rugby.
But Dan Carter, a very famous rugby player who played here for a long time, he was the first one to do it, and he just tapped it. He was standing in front of the door where the teams and the ball come out, and he just tapped it on the ground 3 times. Just bam, bam, bam. And it felt like a first pitch for baseball. It was
the
weird.
ceremony of it.
Yes, exactly. A lot of fun stuff to watch in the stadium, especially they have like when they do the cameras around the audience, there are little
graphics
that they put up to make you, it's kind of like Snapchat filters or whatever, where they've got Phryges and they try to put them on people's heads. They give people the Olympic sunglasses. There's a game, and I'm guessing this is at every venue. It's called Find Pierre, It is Find Pierre de Coubertin. A guy dressed up like Pierre de Coubertin will be wandering around the stadium. And if you find him, you take a picture, and then there's a QR code, and you might get a little something. But that is funny. There's a lot of throwback to 1924.
There was these very bizarre videos that they were playing where it's still photographs from 1924 animated, so the people are singing modern pop songs. Which I've seen these videos before, but I never not find them creepy.
There was people saying Sweet Caroline, and they knew what to do, and that was weird. But then they sang some old French song that everybody kind of knew because play was going to start again. And so it was a halftime thing. And play was starting again, and everybody just continued singing the song until it was
the
done.
Sweet Caroline of rugby in France, I guess.
So that was a lot of fun. We had pool play today, and in men's pool A, New Zealand and Ireland have 2 wins, and they have the same point differential, so they're essentially tied. In pool B, Argentina and Australia have 2 wins, but Argentina leads on the point differential. Argentina got booed a lot tonight.
They did. And not just a little boo. Like, it was hearty. Like, anything that Argentina did, this French crowd went after them.
Pool C, Fiji is on top with 2 wins and a 54-point differential. France is next. They're one win, 1 tie. Their point differential is 7.
When Fiji took the field, we know Fiji is good. But to see them actually play, it made the other team look like a professional team playing a high school team. It was unbelievable how good Fiji is.
And how big they are.
They are some large, large men.
And fast.
I don't know how that is physically possible to be that big and that fast. And they're probably lovely men. Right? They'd be so polite. And so, I mean, I remember when we spoke to Ben Ryan, who coached the Fijian team, how lovely these men are and family oriented and polite. And yet you see them and they are absolutely terrifying.
So the U.S. did play twice. They first played France, and that was the draw, 12-12. Perry Baker, who's one of our Scuttlebutt, had a really nice sprint. That dude is fast. He is a fast man. And he was a good team player because he knew when to pass. He also was like really good on strategy because France was moving forward and somehow the ball got out. He wasn't going to be able to leap onto it, but he kicked it so it pushed France further back. And I'm like, oh, that was a pretty good play. And he also did get a try. So he did a nice pass that ended in a try. So that was really good. He got an assist. Their next game was sadly against Fiji, and Fiji beat them 38-12. The U.S. scored first,
and Perry Baker did get a try in that game.
Yes, so that was very good, and you'll recognize him because he has his head wrapped and his ears are protected. Like nobody's business. I was like, good on you, Perry. Keep those ears safe. So it was a lot of fun to watch. People were rooting for Samoa, and poor Samoa couldn't make a whole lot happen. A huge Kenyan contingent was here cheering for Kenya, and Kenya didn't do so great either. And then it was just kind of like when Australia was playing, everyone's like, they're playing, they're going to win. And yeah. So we'll see. Tomorrow is the end of pool play, and then we start the lower standings. And the U.S. has to play Uruguay. Uruguay's on the bottom of their pool standings. So hopefully we'll eke out another win, and then it will depend on the point differential because France gets to play Fiji. So we'll see how that goes.
And when France plays, my ears are still ringing. It was loud.
Yeah, it was. It was really loud. One of their star rugby players opted to play sevens. in kind of a shocking move. He did score a try in one of the game that you were here for with France, so that was kind of good redemption thing. But yeah, they are just nuts, and it's great.
Perfect. It's how you want to see. World Rugby, I hope, is thrilled with how this tournament is starting for them.
And packed stadium. It was great. Let's take a look at our Scuttlebutt watch for who is competing tomorrow, or medal counts. We also have news, Scuttlebutt news in this section.
And this is adorable. So Roblox has created an interactive game / immersive experience. You know, they use the big words. Don't make that face at me. Called Team USA Ultimate Obi. I have never seen Roblox before, so I apologize. I'm getting this all wrong. But the important part of this is that about half of the athletes in this game are Scuttlebuttanis. Sunny Choi, CJ Nicholas, Elise Willoughby, Jamal Hill, Ashley Johnson, Brian Bell, Evie Liebfarth, and Jesse Grouper are all in there. And you can get a hold of that at teamusa.com/Roblox. It'll be available on July 26th, but you can preview it now.
Women's archery gets underway tomorrow, so that means Casey Kaufhold will be starting in the ranking rounds.
Perry Baker will be back tomorrow with Team USA in Rugby Sevens.
And the U.S. para track and field team has been named, and it includes Jaden Blackwell, Justin Fongsavan, Noel Malkamaki, and Daniel Romanchuk, whom you will meet after the Olympics, but before the Paralympics. And that's going to do it for our very first day of coverage here from Paris.
Oh boy, we made it through. And you can find us on X, YouTube, and Instagram at Flame Alive Pod. Send us an email at flamealivepod@gmail.com. Call or text us at 208-352-6348. That's 208-FLAME-IT. Chat with us and other fans on our Facebook group, Keep the Flame Alive Podcast. It is hopping, so please get in there. And you can sign up for our special daily Games Time newsletter at our website, flamealivepod.com.
Right, and do hang out in the Facebook group. That's where at least I'm hanging out there more than I did on Twitter this time around. Last time for Beijing, I was on Twitter a lot. I'm going to be spending a lot of time in the Facebook group because I know y'all want to hear from us, and we all want to hear what you think as well. So join us again tomorrow for more action. Please don't forget to tell your friends about the show, because they might be starting to get into the Olympics just about now, and we'd love to find more of our people. Thank you so much for listening, and until tomorrow, keep the flame alive.